So you want to get better at infected in Left 4 Dead. Well, guess what? You came to the wrong place. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. You actually came to the best place because I'm going to tell you every single thing you need to know about basically all these infected. Now, am I gonna do it in one video? No, because that would be 1 hour long video of me just yapping my ass off that nobody's gonna listen to. So instead, we're gonna go one infected at a time. And what is the best infected to go to first? The easiest one, the smoker. Now, what do you need to know about the infected? Now, yo, stop coughing, bro. Now, what are some basic stuff you need to know about the smoker? Basically, the smoker does 4 damage per claw, just like everything else except the hunter and the charger. Has 250 HP, which isn't a lot, unless you're playing, you can get one-shotted by AKs, snipers, shotguns. You could basically get destroyed by a lot of things. So you gotta play it very safe. Now these stuff right here, Ghost Walking Speed and Walking Speed spawned. It doesn't really matter. Just do know that the smoker is slower than survivors. That is very important. Now why is that important, you may ask? Well, survivors, from what I know, okay. Survivors move at 220. Don't know what that means. That probably means like meters or something like that. But just know they move at 220 and smokers move at 210, which means that smokers are slower. So when you do spawn, you want to spawn where you know where your range is. Time to kill a survivor. This varies depending what mode you play. Vanilla, zone mod, CETA, other configurations. That, it varies. And then FOV, blah, 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 who cares about the rest of that stuff? What you do need to know is your health, your claw damage, and your smoke damage. Now, speaking of your smoke damage, the smoker does 2 different types of damage, basically. First of all, if you are pulling a survivor towards you, this map doesn't have a survivor that's chilling. You'd think it have a survivor that's chilling, but it doesn't. But when you are pulling a survivor towards you in vanilla, okay, in center or zone mod or CETA, this is a bit different. Instead of doing 3 damage, it does 5 damage, and then once he grabs you, it still does 5 damage. And same thing with vanilla. When he's pulling you, he only does 3 damage, but when he grabs onto you, he does 5 damage. Now, something that you should know about the smoker, at least in vanilla, the vanilla version of the game, his down damage is about, I think it's 20. So if you smoke someone that's down, or like if you smoke somebody and they go down and there's a common with you, you guys are gonna kill them really fast. And the last basic thing that you should know basically is that your tongue has travel, and you can use this to your advantage, but this is mainly a kind of a disadvantage. But for gameplay reasons, it needs to be how it is. But since, as you can see, the AI bot is just going across, since your tongue travels, if you just spit it out, right? So you use this to your advantage when someone's coming around the corner or something, you could pre-smoke and it will hit them. It's a very niche thing, but it's good to know for, those niche situations. It's good to know for those. And last thing, this is your maximum distance. I don't know how much this is, but I'm pretty sure. Does it say over here? No. Oh, well. I'm pretty sure this is like about, I don't even know how much this is. Probably like 20 meters. But yeah, this is your maximum range. But keep in mind, there is no range limit vertically. So that's why sometimes it feels like your tongue could go really, really far, is because it's going down and left and not just straight. And that's why sometimes it feels like your tongue has no range at all. Now, I feel like before we even talk about unique things about the smoker, we should really talk about the weaknesses of smoker. Because smoker has a lot of weaknesses. But if you're a good player and you know how to position yourself and you know how to attack, basically, and use the smoker's strength to advantage, not only will you be killing smoker last, which is a good thing because if you're playing competitive Left 4 Dead, the last 2 things that die are no more. But also, you can keep that smoker alive for a situation where you need a smoker. That's perfect. So I think it's very important to know the weaknesses of smoker before you even think about doing anything with smoker. The very first obvious thing is ton cuts. Now, there's a really easy counter to counter this because majority of people they cut to reaction of your body movement. So if you just shove or in the affected side, scratch and then smoke, you're gonna catch a lot of people off guard because they're gonna think that your animation of you scratching is you smoking, but it's not, and then they get bamboozled and it's over. Another counter is gas cans, but I'm not gonna talk about those. I'm not gonna talk about those. Just know that they exist. They can cut tongues, but we're not gonna talk about those considering the fact that they're not in zone mod, and also it's very niche. Very niche to have a gas can in your hand, but not a teammate behind you. You feel me? You feel me? Now, tongue cuts is like the last of your worries when it comes up to getting countered. If you see someone looking for the melee, the tongue cut, obviously don't go for them or do the mind game that I told you about. But if they're a good player, they're not gonna look at your character. They're gonna look for the tongue. So, take that information, that mind game with a grain of salt, but just know that it is a counter option if you're in a 1v1. Last ditch resort, maybe, but that's what we need. And just to show you how slow the tongue is, this is at max range, I believe. And they could react to this. This is really reactable. But if we get closer and closer and you actually start to know your range, keep in mind. But yeah, verticality and everything changes the speed up and everything. So the farther you are, the better, because most people struggle to cut far tongues versus medium range tongues and stuff. Especially if you delay your tongue a little bit. Ooh, that is a nice counter to cut tucking. That is a nice counter to tongue cutting. Now another counter that you really need to be wary of is getting shoved. Basically, just getting shoved. I don't know how to explain it, but if you get shoved, you are cooked. Now self-clearing isn't really the most important thing. If you're like the last one alive, then it is important to listen out for the smoker and everything. But for the most part, you're going to get insta cleared by your teammates. Now, what is the one last counter that you think the smoker is? If you said shooting the tongue, you are absolutely correct. Now, can this be in my next guide? Yeah. But basically, if you see your teammate get smoked and you're playing shotgun, this is a really good counter. Yes, the game said I failed, but that's really not even a fail, in my opinion. But yeah, that is all your counters as smoker. Basically, all the counters to smoker. Just to help those people who are struggling with smoker. Those are all the counters. There's a lot of them actually. A lot of them. You can shoot the tongue, you can cut the tongue, and you can shove the smoker if he's too close. That is a lot. That is a lot. And for the tongue only having 100 HP, that is a lot. Now, when playing smoker, you always want to ask yourself these three things. 1, what is your situation? 2, what is your team? What does your team have? Right? Does it have charger? Does it have jockey? Does it have spitter? Does it have boomer? And 3, ask yourself, are you in a tank fight or not? Those are the main 3 questions that you should be asking yourself when you play smoker. And if you start doing that, it instantly improve. I'm telling you, man, instantly improve. Now we're gonna go over some examples of what I mean by those 3 things. What is your situation? What is your team hit? And are we in a tank fight? Now, sadly, this game ended on chapter 2, sadly, but I actually think that this video right here alone could teach you how to play smoker really well. So if you want to, skip this video and just go to that video and just watch me play smoker, that is actually perfectly fine. Chapter 2, which I believe is 10 minutes into the game, I literally only play smoker for about half the chapter. So although this team wasn't, the most coordinated, and they also had a rusher that was raging, whatever, I think there's simple things about it that you could take tips about. Simple things that you could just write down or just copy and paste it into your games. You feel me? First things first, we're gonna ask ourselves, what is the hit? Luckily, we do have charger, we do have spitter. Unluckily, is I'm smoker in this situation, so I can't really do much other than try to set my charger up. But the issue is with this DC is if they go on the side, they could just completely avoid the DC, basically, essentially, right? So me being smoky here is completely useless. I can't really do anything other than get some damage. But just to show you what I mean by not every single time you could do something with smoker, but just to see what I mean, by understanding your situation. You know, I understood that I'm not really gonna be able to get much value here, but it's a team game, so I'm nonetheless gonna try my best to get something going. And as you can see, I wasn't able to do anything, but my jockey did get a pin. Sadly, my jockey dropped down, even though there was spit, there was cover, there was all that. Really, if the jockey had stayed up there, I would have been able to scratch him, and we probably would have gone to yellow or whatever, right? But nonetheless, I cut down my situation. I realized that I probably wasn't gonna get much value by smoking somebody. So what am I gonna do instead? I'm gonna try to smoke. If I miss the smoke, I'm going to instantly start scratching on anything I can, or just be an annoyance. You feel me? And that's what I did. Perfect example right there. Okay, so I got Smoker again. I don't even know how I was just Smoker, but I got Smoker. Anyways, like I said, this whole entire game I basically played Smoker. But we're gonna see what I do here. We're gonna mute myself. Actually, no, we're not gonna do that. We got an AFK. Boom. I didn't really count that because the guy was AFK. He was probably talking shit. Yep, saying GGs, even though the game didn't even start. Um, but you know, that'd be funny if you got that. This is literally the most beautiful situation here. Now I want to ask you. You know, you're in this situation. What are you gonna do? Right? I'm assuming you haven't seen that video yet. Assuming you're playing the game yourself, right? There's a tank, there's like alarm car going on. You know, they're running back. All this shit is happening, but they get a charge here. What do you think is the right thing to do as smoker? Now, what you gotta ask yourself is, what can I do? And when it comes up to smoker, you are the best at holding and if holding someone hostage, essentially, because you could just grab them from really far. Now, can they kill you from really far? Yeah. Are they gonna be stronger than you? Yeah. But when it comes up to tank fights, most people don't pay attention to the smoker. So you would be if you hide and then your tank goes in, you smoke them for your tank, that guy's down. So, like I said, if you're able to hold people hostage during tank fights, what should you do here? Now the tank is all the way on the other side of the map, and the guy gets a charge here. Now what you could do is you could just keep walking forward. But what I do, knowing my game knowledge, knowing that these people who play this game, they are going to try to save this guy, but they can't, sadly. And because of that, poor positioning, like I said in my last video, you gotta be positioned properly. This Rochelle was, I understand, trying to protect his teammate. But when it comes to tank fights and there's an alarm car and all this shit's happening, that teammate's gone. That teammate's dead. The best you could do is get 3 people to safe house. Now, like I said, as smoker, you are basically tank's left hand man. What you should be doing as smoker when you're tank, when there's a tank, is just existing, just sitting there waiting for your tank to go in. Now, there's very situational times where you don't want smoker at all. Example, chapter 1, death toll, sorry, chapter 2, death toll safe room tank. You do not want smoker there. There's too much shit. You can't, it's trash, okay? You do not want smoker. You do not want boomer at all in those tank fights. But in a tank fight like this, where it's very open and everything, smoker is phenomenal. And a lot of the times, there are going to be wide open areas and stuff. So smoker is key for tank fights. Keep that in mind. Smoker is key for tank fights. But yeah, what I'm doing is I'm waiting for an opportunity. My tank sadly hit me for 100 damage. So I lost. Yeah, I lost all my HP. But as you can see, he has a lot of HP. He could just do whatever he wants. And boom, I got my prey. Now what tank could do here, if this was like a 4v1, right? 4 survivors were up. He might have to actually come back to this. But since it's only Nick and Ellis, he could just keep chasing the Ellis and harassing. And Jockey does the same, which allows me to get hella damage on this guy. And he just gives up. He just gives up after that. Sad. Now, if you guys have made it this far, I would actually like to ask y'all to subscribe because there is a lot of people that do get this far that just don't subscribe. So if you guys could subscribe, that would be lit. This is actually a perfect example of a non-team like cooperative tank right here because you're gonna see in a few seconds that Smoker gets a nasty pull. Like this is a really good pull. My shotgun player is not like paying attention to this guy. Only I see this. Tank is on the right somewhere doing some random shit, right? But this is such a good smoke. Tank could have gotten a knock here. No joke. If he just had rotated properly. Now you're gonna see, look at this. This smoker is behind the tree. This smoker is like literally the most phenomenal. Boom. Got charged. And then I get caught lacking. All of this kind of happens because the smoker. You see how everything's on you? That's good. You see, it all basically happened because the smoker
Oh,
just
damn,
this
you
un.
did work
Fuck.
on him.
All that happened because one smoker pool fucked everything up. Had the tank had more HP, that game probably would have ended so differently. But he didn't have much HP because the tank didn't commit soon enough, so it's like whatever. Now, going back to what I was talking about positioning in my very first video, when you're playing Smoker, you have so much freedom. You can spawn on group, you can spawn everything. So if you're playing Smoker, try to spawn in areas that could cover a lot of situations. Like this, for example, we have a rusher who's running through everything, but since I positioned myself properly, I was actually able to catch him. Now, my charger missed sadly, and my hunter pin, which is pretty good. I have no clue what the hell my boomer was doing here. Bro was watching a murder happen.
You're 50 already?
But you get the point. Try to position yourself in ways where you could cover all options as smoker while also being safe. Because look at, I don't die, and then I start becoming Indian. Now right here, I pulled the Rochelle, trying to assist my tank, but sadly they cleared that. They cleared that really fast. And then I don't know what happened to the jockey. That jockey just got deleted. But as you can see, I'm just staying up here because I know I'm safe up here, and I could probably help my tank out. Now, the tank is gonna chase these guys, which makes me completely useless, sadly. When you're playing tank, a big thing about tank is being aware. Your teammates are basically extra cooldowns. Okay, you're really useless yourself, but when you have teammates to help you, you're a threat. Okay, and you need to play around your teammates. So what this guy should have done? He should have started pushing someone else, probably like the Rochelle, since that would have been easy for me to smoke her. But when you're in the moment, things happen. Right here, boom, I miss my smoke. I can't do nothing. But he does, I believe, catch somebody. Tank needs to throw a rock or chase this yellow guy. Yeah, he catches this guy right here. And then I'm able to smoke this guy for tank. Smacks him, and then he then he walks away, which I don't know what the hell was going on there. But you basically see what I'm trying to say. Smoker is key in tank fights, but you're only as like the smoker, you can't really do much, you feel me? You can only set things up, you feel me? I did my best, but being alive doing nothing is better than sitting on a 15-second cooldown doing literally nothing. Now this is gonna be the last example I give. We have quad. We're on the roof. There's only 3 of them, and there's 4 of us. This is a really simple situation. I don't even need to explain this. If you guys have quad and there's 3 of them, just go because it is so free. Sadly, my tongue broke going to rage quit, right? My charger misses, and then I get fucking self-cleared. Sad day, but my hunter did hit an S25. So, taking eyes off the hunter, but then the jockey was able to get the coach. That jockey is getting a knock. That was a really bad example of what the smoker could do, but you get the point. Okay, that's just another situation. Oh, what do I do if I have quad? Just go in. Just go in. Now, very last thing I want to say. Probably isn't going to be the last thing. I'm probably going to shove this all the way up into the front of the video because I'm retarded and I freestyle all my fucking videos. But a good tip to have, going back to very first thing I said. What is your situation? Our situation right now, we have a witch that is startled. We have a hunter. We have a jockey. Now, if my hunter gets a pin, the spitter's going to spit on that. If my jockey also gets a pin, that means there's only be one person. Sorry, 2 people left. And if the witch is able to get a pin, then that means that it is left to me to get that last guy. So when you're playing smoker, a lot of the times you could ruin hits. Like you could just ruin hits. So a good rule of thumb, right? A good rule of thumb is be patient. Be patient. Look at, I wanted to smoke that. Oof, oof, this is gonna take a second, right? As you guys can see with my camera, I wanted to smoke this guy right here, this guy Simon, but he messed up the crown, which allowed him to get knocked. So the first thing I was gonna do was instantly turn and go for another smoke. But these big bold letters in red are saying that my teammates, they are in. So I gotta wait. And wait I do, and literally the perfect death spit happens. This guy is not paying attention. There's a pin going on over here. I get this guy, and would you look at that? Jockey got a pin. All because I didn't, all because I sat there being patient, respecting that my teammates are hitting, and also respecting that if I had smoked the Zoe, which I wanted to originally, that this hit would have been ruined. Now, could we have snowballed off this jockey right here and this knock? Yeah, but the message is still there. Being patient with Smoker is one of the most important things. But like I said, it's all situational. You feel me? Sometimes you gotta go first, sometimes you gotta go last. Now, I hope you guys were able to learn something from this video. Um, I'm really new to trying to explain infected and stuff. So hopefully one day, maybe in the future when I get better at this, I could revisit some of these things, maybe add on to some of these things. But I mean, I do plan on doing a video about every single infected, one tip for every single infected. So if I do miss something here, it'll definitely be in that video. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed or you guys have anything to say, any extra remarks on Smoker or any infected in general, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I do answer every single one of y'all's. And yeah, see y'all in the next one.